I figured out that I've never actually recorded a video about the very last stage of any publication project. So you submit something to a journal, or in this case it's a book, an encyclopedia, and then you get some reviews back. You comment on those reviews, as I have shown in a different video. And then at the very end, once everything is basically accepted from a formal point of view, when like the reviewers say all is good and also the editor says all is good, then it moves to the production stage, and there you will get a review from a kind of different kind. So this is now really just about formatting. Maybe there are some typos in there that are being found, etc., or most importantly, some information from the references is missing. So this is what I encounter quite often, and this is what I want to show you today. So this is now the Elsevier platform for books. They are really like very different from journal to journal, from publisher to publisher, but they are doing exactly the same thing. So often it's also just a PDF that you comment and say, well, there has been some editorial query, and you respond to that. Okay. So here are 4 queries, if I see this correctly. And this is like, has become like a commodity to always ask for whether this is actually all right. So I'm just briefly checking my name, because of course this is a sensitive issue. If your name is wrongly spelled, misspelled, then all the indicators might not work, right? You might not be regarded as the real author of this. And so this can screw up with your citation metrics, for instance. So this is important. And also, of course, your university will be quite angry if you make a mistake here. But this now seems correct, so I'm just replying yes. The given names, for me it's important that also like the second name, the initial, is in there, just to, because there are many people of the same name, and this provides some kind of individuality, and you can more easily identify my work. Yeah, order is not a problem here because I'm just a sole author here. So I click on respond. This has been saved. Perfect. Now let's move on to Q2. Where is Q2? Okay, here we are. I mentioned the separate references. There we have changed all citations to okay. So I would need to check this, and I will do this off the video. So basically the thing is that I've referenced, I had one reference, and I didn't have, as it seems, the numbering or the letters A to E, which does sound strange to me, because that is what the reference manager usually does that for me. So that is where I'm slightly confused. But just looking at it, it seems right. Because this is so just that you, in case that you wonder why there's so many self-references, like always the same year, even it's really just this year, because this is actually referring, you can see this here, to a book, mostly my Mixed Method Social Network Analysis book, which makes a lot of sense because this is a chapter about mixed methods and social network analysis. So I would think I need to go through the text here. So basically I would need to check like all those instances here and check whether the C actually makes sense here, whether D should be meant, etc. So I will do this off the record, because this will be maybe some 10 minutes, 20 minutes, which is probably boring to watch. So let's keep this for now. And then there are unsighted references. Interesting. So let me briefly check this in the document. So this is the document that I've sent back revised. So first of all, let's check the references. Oh, so I see what the problem from before wasn't that I didn't correctly cite this, but depending on the research style that you use, or what the journal uses in this case, is that here the second and the third author are here as well, so that would be enough to correctly identify this. But if the citation style only has the first author, like they seem to have, then of course the problem becomes, well, you do not know which one is which, because it's always Fröhlich et al. So then you need, that's what they did, but that's what they kind of changed. Okay, well, that makes sense. I will still need to check this, of course, but I can at least work with search and replace, maybe, or maybe here I would probably just look for 2020 references, because all of them are 2020 references, and I can briefly go through this. All right, but now first to the third point, an uncited reference. I know this paper actually, so let's just look for 2006 to confirm that this is not being used somewhere. So it was in there, and I've removed it, and I probably didn't re-add it. Okay, so this is right. It should be removed. What I apparently didn't do, because it's probably appearing here. Yeah, it still appears here, so I didn't refresh the reference list at the end. So this is really my bad. This shouldn't happen. So I'm just writing as it is. This was my mistake. Should be removed. All right. So this is the thing that should go away. And then there have been some issue with identical references. So I indeed probably wasn't on the top of my game when I was doing the references of that that paper. Let me check. So I think it is about this one. Is it CND? CND, yes. Okay, I mean, technically they are not the same because one is citing the book and another one is citing the book, the introduction of the book. So I would need to investigate whether this actually is right now, because let me just check here. So 2020B and 2020, they say it's C and D, but it's probably it need to be those two. So I just search for 2020 B. So this is referencing the introduction. Okay, makes sense. This is another one. This is not at all. This is not at all. Okay, so this is the only time it was cited. And then 2020 C. Let's just check this one. Yeah, and here it is referring to the whole book. It does make sense in this aspect because I want to show basically, look, this is something something broader. So I would actually say that they were not identical. So I'm asking them to undo the changes because I think it is actually right the way that I did it. So I'm responding here. Yeah, so I quickly now went through all of those instances just using the search function of the browser, which is actually super helpful here. And I just put OK here because this is actually all right. Just checking whether everything has been answered. Yes, that's okay. Okay. The uncited reference can be deleted. And the last one, yeah, I would, yeah. I mean, it's really a secondary notice. If it's not possible, just giving them some leeway. I don't really mind. I mean, it's not a big issue. It's not technically incorrect. I think so. Let's just keep it like this. So all the queries have been answered. Now you also see here if I would need to make any changes here, then I can do this here. But this looks good. One thing that I actually always recommend is also to briefly search for author, because this is what I'm usually using when I'm citing myself at the blind stage. And sometimes there is one publication published of mine where I'm really citing author and not myself. So this is of course not really professional, and I hope that I do not repeat this mistake. So that's all good. So the edit log here, we can go through this. So there are some smaller editorial changes that had been made. So just checking whether, like here, you know, the labeled, so some mistakes were being corrected. So that's nice, of course. yeah, so these are all like very, very small things, so that's all good. And so what I do is I save. Saving is always a good thing. There doesn't seem to be anything open, so let's just click on submit. So that's really one like a one shot that you have. You do not want to, yeah, submit lightly, but in this case there really were like very few queries only. I think I've dealt with them, so click yes. And that's it. Now this will really go into, yeah, further into production, and soon hopefully I will have my copy of the book in my hands.